What's up, my people? Day 11. So, how do I do it? Day 11? Day. You just know it's day 11. But thank you again for joining me. We are doing day 11. Can you imagine, guys? It was just only a few days ago we were doing day 1, but now 10 days, more than a week. And I thank you for the support that you've given. So, here goes your useless fact of the day. Do you know that a shark is the only fish that can blink with both eyes? All right, so today we're doing poem number 11. If you're joining us today, again, this is day 11, and we're going through this book. It's called Petals of Emotion, that I'm an author of, and we're just going through and really having a conversation on what it is, what I think about the poems and where I was coming from, and then also just eliciting conversation. So thank you for joining me, and if you want a copy of the book, it's still available. Contact me and you'll have it. So here goes the poem of today. 6 days I am shut, my belly only echoing with emptiness and lifelessness, coupled with power and love, ready to heal, console, enrich, and possess. I ask myself, do they shut me to amass the power, or they come when they're really empty? On the 7th day, they drag by me, some with lustful eyes, others full of empty and lonely hearts, even those with brokenness, those with car keys and those with bicycle bells, carrying with them gossiping mouth and those full of expectation. After a few hours of singing, playing, dozing, chatting, and praying, out they emerge once again, rewarded and changed, full of happiness and joy, but still others come out more shattered and thrashed, cracked vessel filled with water. Why the difference? I don't know. And don't call me a gossiper. I'm only a church door. So that is the poem of today. And essentially, what the poem tries to tell us is that we need to start by saying that the door gets the personification of a person so that it can talk. And what the door is, this is just not your average door, it's a church door. And it tells us it is aware of how powerful congregation of believers is, because it tells us that that it has power to heal, console, and enrich in its belly. So it knows of the power that it has. But then it keeps on wondering, why is it that there are some people who come out of that place after a church service the same way that they came in? Maybe deranged, maybe downtrodden, but there are people who come out who are more nourished, refurnished, because they're saying after hours of singing, playing, dozing, chatting, and praying, out they emerge, rewarded and charged, full of happiness and joy, but still others come out more shattered and thrashed, cracked vessels filled with water. And if you know you're a vessel that is cracked, if you try to put water in it, it just seeps out. So the door keeps on wondering that I have all this power, I have all this happiness and joy, but the people who just come out who are not okay. And to be sincere, before the period of COVID, if you ask so many people why they go to church, they will have so many various reasons. Some people go to church because they need to meet a wife or a husband. I need to start with that. Some people go to church because that is where they can be able to show their Sunday best, or they can be able to express how God has blessed them. Some people go there because of networking. Some people go there because of the interaction. Some people go there because of the tea that is given after the service. Some people go because of friends. And all these things are not like really bad things, but they should be what do we call a byproduct of going to church, because the main essence is to sharpen one another, is to enrich one another, is to experience this power and share testimony about God. And so this church door seems to be very, very, very in wonder, and it's just like meditating and wondering itself. Like the other thing that it complains is that if you look at the first stanza, the last two verses, it say, I ask myself, do they shut me to amass the power, or they come when really emptied? Because it wonders, why do I have to wait for 7 days for people to come and worship? people can come and worship each and every day. And I think honestly, this COVID thing has really turned down church on its head on the way that it has been organized, because for some of us we just knew church was that congregation, but now church is everywhere. It is where you're sitting, it is where you're eating, it is where your office space is. And so I think it's just a really interesting time for us to be able to reevaluate and to really think what church is, and that way you can meet anywhere and still experience that goodness. Maybe it's a poem that wants to elicit a question in you. Why do you go to church yourself? Let me hear conversation on this, about this. So the story of today is by an African American by the name of James Baldwin. He was an American essayist, a novelist, a poet, an essayist. This guy was just on another level. He was everything all rolled together. So it's called The Endless Tale. It's one of my favorite stories. So here's the story. In the Far East, there was a great king who had no work to do. Every day and all day long, he sat on soft cushions and listened to stories. And no matter what the story was about, he never grew tired of hearing it, even though it was very long. There's only one fault that I find with your story, he often said. It is too short. All the storytellers in the world were invited to his palace, and some of them told tales that were very long indeed, but the king was always sad when a story was ended. At last he sent word in every city and town and country place, offering a prize to anyone who should tell him an endless tale. He said, "To the man that will tell me a story which shall last forever, I will give my fairest daughter for his wife, and I will make him my heir, and he shall be king after me." But this was not all. He added a very hard condition. If any man shall try to tell such a story and then fail, he shall have his head cut off. The king's daughter was very pretty, and there were many young men in the country who were willing to do anything to win her, but none of them wanted to lose their heads, so only a few tried for the prize. A young man invented a story that lasted 3 months, but at the end of the time, he could not think of nothing more. His fate was a warning to others. It was a long time before any other storyteller was so rash to try the king's patience. But one day, a stranger from the south came into the palace. "Great king," he said, "is it true that you offer a prize to the man who can tell a story that has no end?" "Is it true?" said the king. "It is true," said the king. "And shall this man have your fairest daughter for his wife, and shall be your heir?" "Yes, if he succeeds," said the king. "But if he fails, he shall lose his head." "Very well then," said the stranger. "I have a pleasant story about locusts which I would like to relate." "Tell it," said the king. "I will listen." The storyteller began his tale. Once upon a time, a certain king seized upon all the corn in his country and stowed it away in a strong granary. But a swarm of locusts came over the land and saw where the grain had been put. After searching for many days, they found on the east side of the granary a crevice that was just large enough for one locust to pass through at a time. So one locust went in and carried away a grain of corn. Then another locust went in and carried away a grain of corn. Then another locust went in and carried away a grain of corn. Day after day, week after week, month after month, the man kept on saying. Then another locust went in and carried away a grain of corn. A month passed, a year passed. At the end of 2 years, the king said, "How much longer will the locust be going and carrying away corn?" "O king," said the storyteller, They have as yet cleared only 1 cubit, and there are many thousand cubits in the granary." Man, cried the king. "You will drive me mad. I can't listen to this any longer. Take my daughter, be my heir, rule my kingdom, but do not let me hear another word about those horrible locusts." And so the strange storyteller married the king's daughter, and he lived happily in the land for many years. But his father-in-law, the king, did not care to listen to any more stories. This is just a fun story to think about. Tell me what are some of the themes that you're picking up from it? Is it that trickery? If you trick people, you get your own medicine, or what? So let me hear what you have to think. So the verse of today comes from Matthew 18:20, and it says, "For where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there I am among them." May you have a lovely night, and see you tomorrow again.